President of the Polish American Council of Texas, and he's going to say a few things.
Thank you, Debbie. On behalf of the Polish American Council of Texas, which I am very privileged to serve as president, I want to say thank you to the City of Bandera, Bandera County Commissioners Court, and the City Council for hosting us today. Y'all give them a round of applause for bringing us here. As you all know, this is the cowboy capital of the world, and we're extremely proud to be here to share that heritage with you. Also, you also have the second oldest Polish parish in the United States, St. Stanislaus or St. Stanley, and one of the beautiful painted churches in Texas. And I would like to say this, that St. Stanislaus was actually the first Polish-born saint in Poland. The very first saint was actually of Czech heritage, was St. Albert. But the first Polish-born one was from Krakow, was St. Stanislaus. We have 3 Stanislauses in Texas. You've got the oldest, second oldest parish in the United States. The descendants of this church come from Silesia. I know they're extremely proud of their heritage, and we're very proud of them. And I want to give a big shout out to the ladies in the kitchen and the ladies that helped Debbie Brzezinski and Eleanor Goodley. Y'all give them a round of applause for being such gracious hosts. Now, they made a mistake to give an Aggie and a Polish Texan the microphone. So I'm going to take the liberty to share a little history with you today that you may or may not know about Texas and the contributions that Polish Texans made to the great state of Texas. I'm proud to be a 5th-generation Polish Texan. I'm of 100% Polish descent, and I'm going to share with you some facts. And as I was preparing for this, I learned a few things myself. They always say the teacher actually learns more than the student as they prepare to give a lecture. I want to say this, that the first Polish settlement was in Panna Maria, which these folks are related to the one to south of San Antonio. But the 3rd and the 4th oldest Polish parish is in the Brazos Valley, which is St. Joseph New Waverly, and they're about to celebrate 152 years. And the other is St. Stanislaus in Anderson, Texas. And a lot of people don't realize there were 2 major groups that came for bread. Zaleben is what it said in Polish. And that was for economic, social, and religious freedoms. And however, the first Poles were already living in Texas already by the 1830s, and many people don't know that. They came individually, not as an organized group as Panna Maria. That is the first and oldest Polish church in the United States. They're building a Polish Heritage Center there that we are so proud of, that will represent Texas and the United States, Polonia. But in 1830s, there was an uprising, the Poles in Warsaw, against the Russians. And some of those people had to flee for their lives. So they came to Texas to help us fight for our Texas independence in the 1830s. As you know, Stephen F. Austin brought the first immigrants to Texas in 1821. In that first 300 families, there were no Polish. But right after that, they started coming in groups of individual families. By 1836, there were 20,000 people in Texas. There were 200 families scattered throughout Texas, from East Texas to West, to all over this area. So we had individuals that came here throughout the state of Texas. They did fight in the battles of Goliad, Gonzales, and San Jacinto. And I got to tell you an interesting fact that I found while I was working on this about the Battle of San Jacinto. One, San Jacinto in Spanish means in English St. Jack. And who was St. Jack? St. Jack was a Polish Salesian saint. He was canonized in 1594. And when the Spaniards came here in the late 1500s, they had the liberty to name all the rivers. All the rivers were named San Antonio, St. Anthony, St. Marcus, St. Mark, San Bernard. Corpus Christi means body of Christ, the Trinity for the Holy Trinity. And Święta Jacek, which is San Jacinto in Spanish, is the Salesian saint from Poland. He was the newest canonized one by the Pope at that time. But let me tell you about an individual at the Battle of San Jacinto that you may not know about, that I think is a very historic individual. His name was Lieutenant Colonel Felix Warszawski. He's the one, the day after the Battle of San Jacinto, that actually captured President Santa Anna and delivered him to Sam Houston, our general at the time, who became our first president. Not many people know that it was a Polish lieutenant colonel, and he was one that escaped Warsaw during the uprising in the 1830s. However, let me just say this, And on June 6, 1936, at the Centennial Exposition in Dallas, Texas, in the Hall of Fame, this is what it reads. Felix Dzerzhinsky's name will be inscribed along that of Sam Houston, Liberator, Stephen F. Austin, Colonizer, and Stephen F. Austin, the father of the Lone Star Empire. And those three names are there together since 1936 on June the 6th in Dallas, Texas. As Texas Poles, we're very proud of the contributions that our ancestors made to this great state. And I can tell you this is probably one of the most prettiest cities that I've been to. And I love Bandera, and I love this stone architecture. I just got to throw that in there. And let me just say this in closing, that I want to highlight, and I did a little research last week about Texas country music. How many here like country music? I think Bandera's known a little bit for country music. I think you got some of the best bands in Texas here. I got to witness one of them last night. But let me just say this. I want to highlight 4 Texas dance hall classics that were actually Polish melodies that were made into Texas classics. The most famous one is the Westphalia Waltz. And in the 1950s, after World War I, that thing got so popular in Central Texas, they won Grammys and gold records and things like that. It's actually Pytała się Pani. And that is a very famous Polish song, but it's known in Texas and in Nashville as the Westphalia Waltz. The other one is Maiden's Prayer. And a lot of us know that one from Texas Country Hall Classics. It was Modlitwa Dziecka. And it means the Maiden's Prayer is what it actually means. That is actually Polish. The other one, how many of you know Put Your Little Foot? That was the rage of Europe in 1850 amongst the aristocrats throughout Europe. That was the twist of the 60s. That dance was brought over by Maximilian I of Mexico in 1864, who was the Austrian prince that ruled Mexico. And he brought over, because at that time Austria had 1/3 of Poland. Poland didn't exist on the map. So they brought over the mazurka, the oberek, and the polka. And the oberek in Spanish, they use the German word for redova. It's the German word for the Polish oberek, which is the Polish waltz. The very last song I'm going to talk about is one that shocked me very much, was the old Eddie Arnold Cattle Call. I know all you cowboys out here that know that song very well. That was actually Pavel's waltz, or Paul's waltz, originally. And they took that thing and made it a very famous, it's probably the most famous cowboy song of all time, and that was originally a Polish melody. God bless y'all for having us here in Bandera, one of the most beautiful cities in the Hill Country. And I want to say thank you to St. Stanislaus Parish for putting this together, Debbie Brzezinski, Eleanor Dugash. I wanted to say thank you, Miss Goodley, for having us here today. God bless you, and thank you for having us.